Hi guys, this is John. I am so excited today to talk to you about something that it's kind of crazy. Like, I know the other day we had like the biggest decline in the market since 2008, like in a single day ever, which is like crazy. And I think what we're gonna talk about today is something that's like so crazy critical, because I feel like you can look back at this years and years in the future and be like, wow, this is like a big turning point. And I want to do is I want to talk about some of the really big takeaways from a lot of like the recent news. More importantly, think about like some practical application and just some common sense investing tactics that I think could really help you make a lot of money. And that if I applied over the past couple of weeks, I've done phenomenally well. I am by no means dissing. It's been amazing. But I mean, it probably could have made, an extra, 5, 6, 7, 8 figures, something like that. A couple hundred percentage points on a couple of positions, especially in airline stocks. So that's kind of what I'm excited to talk to you about, because there's a lot of really good principles to take away from it. So I'll see you guys after the intro.
So the big question is this: how do investors like us, who don't have a PhD in finance or millions to start investing, how do we grow our bank accounts to build real savings and retirements, and yet still have the time to do what we really love? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer.
Awesome. Okay, so I know it's just been such a crazy week. My dad, he works at Wells Fargo, and because of the coronavirus, he usually travels like all the time. Like in the last week, he's been to like San Francisco, Miami, New York, and I think Chicago too. I mean, he just travels like all the time. Remember when I was growing up, he would be out of town like all the time, just because he just travels so much. It's kind of crazy. He sells bonds, so he like goes to the companies that he sells the bonds to, and then they like have meetings and stuff, and then he's like, okay, cool, I will give you, a couple $100 million or something, and you guys will get like taxes and bonds and pay the money, and anyway, that's kind of what he does. And so anyway, he always travels, right? But all of a sudden, Wells Fargo, they made this new thing like starting this week, and until further notice, none of their employees can get on a plane. None of their employees can travel for work. And the reason why is because they don't want people to freaking die from the coronavirus, right? And so, like, that's big. That's freaking huge. Like, Wells Fargo is a ginormous company. And to think that all of a sudden none of their employees can get on a plane, what do you think that's going to do to airplane stocks, right? And especially if this is something which I'm pretty sure is happening, across multinational Fortune 500 companies, and obviously more so on an individual level. Like, what do you think is going to happen when no one wants to get on a plane because they're afraid of getting this disease that could kill them, or at least quarantine them from the U.S.? I think it's only lethal to like really young people and really old people. But anyway, I know right now you can get like a round trip ticket to Italy for $200 for spring break, like in a week. Like, that's insane. And like, oh my gosh, it's because like no one wants to travel, right? Because like they don't want to die from this virus. And I remember like this is not like a ginormously new thing. Like the news about this virus came out, I would say probably a month ago. The first case was probably about 2.5 months ago. And so it's not like a brand new thing. And when I first heard about the virus, I didn't think much about it for individual stocks, which was kind of silly. I didn't like take a moment to think like, what stocks would this affect outside of pharmaceuticals? And like that was silly, because if you just like take this is what I'm talking about here. I want to clarify, like, this isn't like all news. Like, most news is pretty bogus, but like when you have a disease that's threatening like everyone in the population, like you should probably give that a little bit of attention, because it's kind of important. And so that's kind of what happened here. Is this disease came out, and it was growing. And like the only thing I can think of was pharmaceutical stocks. I didn't take a minute to just think about like what other companies might have been affected, like airline stocks, right? Like the airline stocks have literally gone down by 50%. Cruise ship stocks are literally down 60%. And like that's huge. The option plays, it's just massive. There's no other way to say it. That's like 10, 20 extra. It's crazy. But when I first heard about this news, like, I didn't actually think about those companies at all, just because I didn't take the time to reflect on it, which was silly. Now, obviously, I've still done really well. KEM has been massive position. They were supposed to get taken over by a Taiwanese company, but now that nobody can fly anywhere, what's the likelihood that you're gonna have an American company doing negotiations in Taiwan? It's just not very likely. And the stock price has reflected that. I mean, it's tanking pretty. It's pretty freaking great. And so the question becomes, like, what other things are affected? What other sectors are affected? What else can be impacted by something like this? And what's really critical is sort of that you have whatever you're doing, and you want to kind of expand your thought base. You want to expand what you're looking at. You expand what you're doing, and just think like a little bit outside of the box. Because if I just thought a little bit outside of the box, I thought about what other stocks might be affected by this this big change. It probably would have been freaking really, really, really nice. So that's kind of the first thing I want to talk about. Second thing is a little more interesting, a little bit bigger, and that's kind of like just the market right now, which is kind of crazy. I know. It's not like a question of what's going to happen. Like, it's pretty obviously going to happen. I think 8 months ago it was an inverted yield curve. And the unemployment numbers came out, I think, like 2 days ago, and we were totally massive record low levels of unemployment. And some of you guys know, first of all, with an inverted yield curve, it's happened like 12 times in the past century, and I think every single time without failure, maybe once, like every single time though, there's an inverted yield curve. Like, there's a recession within usually 8 to 14 months, average about a year. And the average gain in that time frame is about 25% in the market, which is hung pretty true today with this run up. But anyway, that was back in like August. And then the other thing was record low unemployment. So like when right before it crashed, I remember I was this company, and they were literally hiring people in jail while they were in their last couple of months of sentence in jail, and they were paying them in jail so that when they got out they would come to work at the company, because the unemployment was so low and there were so few people in the workforce that's the kind of things they had to do that just to get somebody to work for the company. And that happened in 2007, right before the crash, because unemployment levels are super low before market recessions. And so that literally the exact same thing happened last year in November. There was a company that was hiring people out of a jail to come work for them, and so when that happens, and the unemployment just came out, the unemployment is a massive record low, so at an abnormally low level. That's kind of when you have the start of the recession, and so you combine those two, and it's pretty. It's like not even a question. It's just like, what stocks do I want to buy puts on? I remember talking to a bunch of my clients, and they're still long, and I'm like, what are you doing long? Like, I need you to understand, 100% of my portfolio right now is in puts, at least for swing trades. And so it's like, anyway, yeah, it's interesting because this is a big concept that I really, really love. It takes maybe 8 years. This last run maybe took like 10 years. Actually 12 years this last run up was a 12-year bull market. And what's cool is, like, within the next year and a half, maybe 2 years, like a bulk, like probably I'd say 60% of those gains, just as a rough guess, maybe 40, but I'd say 60% of those gains are going to be erased. And what's cool is, if you short stuff, you can make what most people made in 8 years or 10 years or a decade or 12 years. You can make that in like a year. Which, all you have to do is like know what's going on, and then just trade the inverse, trade against the market, or trade against individual stocks are way more predictable and a lot easier to trade than the market. So it's kind of what I'm doing. I could buy like SPY puts or something, which I will try out, but those are only going to like quadruple. Like other positions, especially like KEM, like that position went up I don't know 1,500% last week, and it'll hopefully turn from about 10 cents to give or take I'd say $12, maybe $14 this coming week. So like if you can find better positions, and you can just kind of go with those, and it works out a lot better. So that's kind of the big takeaway is obviously individuals, but like if you know that's happening and you know that stocks are going to be doing things like that, like you want to kind of take advantage of it and do the smart thing, and anyway, you just make a lot more money when you actually react to really big market moves. And so that's kind of cool. That's something I'm excited about. We'll see how it works out, and it's been pretty sweet so far. Which I think is important because, a lot of people, I told you guys about my aunt, like, she just wouldn't sell her stock. Like, Tesla was like $1,000 almost, which was insane. And God, it's like 6-7 figures in that stock, and she just wouldn't sell. And now it's down. Now it's like $600 stock now or something like that, maybe 7. Be 6 soon enough, so it's not like it's gonna be there soon, and then it'll go lower and lower, and it'll come back in the long term. Sure, I don't freaking know, but like, why would you want to wait 8 years if you can just make the money now, and then buy back when it's lower in the future? It's like it's a no-brainer. And so, but also like some things that I think are no-brainers, like some people don't understand. Like right now, Apple stock's at I don't know 280, 290. And pretty clearly it's about to be at about 240. And you guys, I talked about this play on here a while back, at least 2 weeks ago. And then since then, the puts on them, the I own have quintupled. Now they're doubling. Anyway, I've made a lot of plays on that stock. And I remember I hadn't been following up with one of my clients. They hadn't been calling me. We hadn't been connecting. And they fucking bought at 300, and I'm like, what are you doing? And so I know sometimes like I see things that are like I think they're super obvious, but apparently some people like they just aren't. And I remember this one client, they had me like looking at these stocks, and I was showing them some of these positions, and like they forgot what a head and shoulder setup was, and I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And so I guess sometimes it's important to kind of come back to the base, come back to the fundamentals, and just take a minute to step back and remember like what you've learned over time. Because if I did that with these positions on these airline stocks, these cruise ship stocks, I would be many, many, many times richer. But I forgot, and I didn't think about it. I would just glanced over the fact that maybe airline stocks or maybe international cruise ships are going to do poorly when nobody wants to travel because there's a global epidemic. And I mean, these moves didn't happen until I would say a week or 2 weeks after the virus like really started hitting major media. Like they were still holding up, these stocks were still doing well for a good chunk of time. And so that's kind of the other big thing is this week I've been trading coronavirus stocks. There's like 3 major pharmaceutical companies in the US that are like working on vaccines. One of them's INO. I learned about it from one of my chemical engineering buddies. He's freaking genius. He bought the stock before anybody knew about it when it was at like $2, and the thing's at $14 now. I was not as smart as him, but I traded on a pre-market gain last week on one of the live streams, and I've done a daily trade just based off of green, red, green hammer candle setup, or not hammer, just green, red, green setup, and on the daily candles. And see if I can fit this. I did it. Like the trade's been great. I think it went from like 6 to 12, 8 to 14, and done really, really well. That happened not when the coronavirus started coming out, but like weeks and weeks, almost months later. And so it's important to realize that like you can kind of be lazy and late and slow, and you can still kind of have really great returns when you make the right plays. And that's kind of the big takeaway. Also, cool thing, with American is I had a buddy. Actually, I had a student. He thought that they were in a downward wedge for a while and was trying to buy them when they were at like 30. And I was like, okay, dude, you can buy these at 30. I don't think it's a great position. Just make sure you set a stop loss at like 29. And they did, which is good. It's great, phenomenal. Stock right now is at $15, which is like what? Because the virus. And what's cool is I realized. If you looked at it in the really short term, it looked like a wedge, downward wedge, totally looked like a downward wedge. But if you zoomed out just a little bit, the position actually looked like an interior Bollinger Band M setup on the monthly, which is something that's very rare and I've not seen before. And that makes it even more powerful because what it's on the monthly chart. Like I don't know if you guys know this, but when you have any setup, like this position on KEM I'm in right now, this position is a weekly setup. Like if you to find this setup, you need to look at the weekly chart. All right. let me kind of what's a good way? Well, yeah, I think KM's a good example. That position's up thousands of percentage points, minimum 2,000%, and the reason why is because the setup is on the weekly, right? So if I trade something like a head and shoulder setup on a daily chart, like within 1 minute candles, or for instance, this wedge on oh god, I don't know the ticker's name is SLS, made like 40%. Like that's cool, like 40% in a day. It's pretty freaking great. When you have that exact same setup on like a monthly chart, what's cool is the movement is going to be much, much, much greater, assuming you're leveraging with options. It's going to be like thousands of times greater. Just because when you have monthly charts or weekly charts, those candlestick setups are phenomenally stronger, and much, much greater, especially when you have M setups. Like, God, they're so good. Or W's, or head and shoulders. Those are all phenomenally sort of translated into these weekly and daily and monthly charts, and especially monthly. Like, monthly setups are like the strongest setups because they require a strong price history, and they take a little bit longer to actually execute and work themselves out, but they are very much well worth it. And so what's cool is you zoom out, you zoom your chart out, and with American Airlines, it was actually a gigantic intra-bullish Japan M setup that nobody saw because everyone was focusing on the short term. And I mean, it wasn't that. I mean, it's like probably like this setup. Honestly, it probably took about 8 years. This was an 8-year setup, and I think this virus was the catalyst that it needed to break out of the low. If you guys don't know this setup, it's basically like an M, and like just think of the letter M. And then basically you have that inside of what's called Bollinger Bands, which are like volatility bands. And then like at the bottom of the M, like where the M would stop if you're writing it on a piece of paper, like that's when the stock falls, and it falls basically the height of the M in terms of like the actual stock price. And so the stock hits the bottom of the M, and within like 2 weeks, the price of the thing went in half. It lost half. It was crazy. The puts, without a doubt, are up thousands of percentage points because nobody thought that. I mean, I think probably you could have turned, I don't know, 50 cents into $15, which is pretty freaking dope. And so that kind of comes from, man, I should have been watching that. Should have been watching that way close. I don't know. I have no excuse for missing that. It was an insane position. So I don't know. I've been slacking. I haven't been slacking. It's freaking been a busy week. I don't know, but I totally missed out on that American trade. And actually, this week's been kind of interesting, kind of exciting. I have a cool update for you guys. Only because you made it this far into the podcast. I wouldn't share this at the beginning, but it was actually really, really cool. I just finished filming the upsell video today for the second OTO. For 9 to New, which is like the How to Win Friends and Influence People course, and the seminar series, and like holy crap, I'm so freaking excited for it. I don't know if you guys know this, but I've probably spent like at least 200 hours just collecting testimonies from students and from clients, and from people that I've seen that the course based on My Little Pony. It's also based on a book by Dale Carnegie called How to Win Friends and Influence People, and just like mostly it's based on My Little Pony, which just totally changed my life. I think I've spent probably like thousands of hours just consuming and applying that show over and over. It's completely shifted my whole life. It's freaking insane within that. I've a lot of friends that have I've shared it with, and it's changed their whole lives, and I've seen so many people, it's literally like stopped them from suicide because like they were able to actually like make friends because of the social skills. And oh my god, I cannot tell you how excited I am to start really, really, really sharing that with a lot of people. And so anyway, I've spent like so much time in the last couple of weeks just putting these testimonials together. It's kind of been like this gigantic focus of mine, and it's cool because like it's made nobody, but my swing trades have just kind of made up for it, and they've made what most people make in I don't know, 6 months, a year, probably 6 months in the past week. I don't know. It's been really, really, really nice. And so I'm just grateful, and I remember last time I was making money this quickly was when cryptocurrencies were exploding, and it was like the top of the Bitcoin bubble in 2017. And at the time, my this concept I teach and that you know as a client, it's called set point. It's like this set point of like where you are used to your money, like how much money you're used to. And I remember probably that was like 2 or 3 years ago. And for me, I think it was God, I can't believe how long ago that was. That was 3 freaking years ago. Anyway, I made like 10 grand in a week, and I was like freaking out. I couldn't believe it. And what's interesting is like I wasn't like mentally used to having that much money, and I also had like a really negative family environment. And so, gosh, I remember just like how it all went down. Like the money was there, and then I went and I made this terrible investment. Like got scammed by this dude in China. It was like one of the worst decisions kind of ever really went through, and it was just not a good situation. And basically, what happened is because my mind wasn't ready for that money, because my mind wasn't like set and didn't fully accept it. I found this way to give this guy in China like 40 grand for like some like graphics cards that were like not real, and then set in Bitcoin, and can't refund Bitcoin, and it was a bad situation, bad scenario, bad scam, man. It was some stupid stuff, and I should have known it like going in. There was a lot of easy telltale signs, but I think because my mind like wasn't mentally prepared to have the money, I was like trying to find any way possible to get rid of it, because of a lot of the family situations I was in where like I would make a bunch of money, like I would have like no rewards, no connections, and no growth from it, and it made me feel awful just because of the negative emotions I had in me. And I remember when that happened, well, a long time ago. And so I'm thinking about it right now, and usually I make like consistent money over and over and over again, and that's like what I'm used to. And my set point, at least up until now, has been a couple grand here, a couple grand there, a couple grand, and it's been pretty low. And now what's cool is like it's up. I'm upping it. To now, instead of 4 figures, now it's 5 figures. Now it's 6 figures every week or every month or whatever. And like that grows and it grows and it grows, and you get used to making more and more and more. And it's just like it's important to understand when this is happening, understand when you're increasing your set point, and to adapt to it. So I like have to be really I like, especially in this coming week. I may very well make 6 figures on this KEMs, and I really need to focus my attention on abundance mindset this week. It's going to be really critical that I am accepting and used to the money coming in, and that I take it, and I'm thankful for it, and I see it as something that I deserve, something that I own. That was one of the biggest problems when I was starting out, is I didn't think that I deserved the money I was making. I didn't think I deserved to make 5 figures, 6 figures. It was 5 figures. I didn't think I deserved to make that much in a week. And because of that, like my body reinstated that belief, and it did not become a reality. And that kind of sucks. But for me, like at the time, it was like what I expected to happen. And so this coming week, it's going to be really important, especially as all this cash flow starts to come in, that I see it as something I deserve, and I don't try to make like dumb decisions, or I don't try to sell before I should be selling, or I don't hold longer than I should and have things expire worthless, or I have some contracts that expire. This position has an average contract length of 2 months, but some of the contracts expire in like I think 2 weeks, a little bit faster. Other contracts expire in 5 months, 4. God, thinking about math here. I think they expire in like 2.5 months, 3 months. They expire in July. It's a little bit further out, and a very reasonable time frame for this trade. Plenty of time for it to get where it needs to go, assuming the setup validates, which I very much hope it does. And it's already actually validated. It's just needs to actually keep on going and fulfill the full potential of it. But that's another note because it's a head and shoulder setup, and it's already started falling from the second shoulder. And so the question really for me is it going to break the neckline and really fully fulfill it? And I think it could, especially if this deal, the acquisition kind of gets cut off because of the virus. And so we'll see how it works out. I'm excited about it. But anyway, it's really important that as this starts to work itself out, like I don't make dumb decisions like I used to when I wasn't used to having all that much money. And I don't think that I don't deserve it, because for me, like, I know I freaking deserve. And that's the mentality you have to have. You have to have this belief, this utter conviction and confidence in yourself. And that's kind of one of the biggest things that I think I got from all this social skill work and all this stuff with MLP is confidence. Confidence is so very huge. I remember I used to be so shy, so timid, and completely unable to really express myself. And I kind of shifted. I mean, everything really. Like, I can't tell you guys how much My Little Pony changed my life. I remember I went from like having absolutely nothing to being literally the most confident person in the entire school, total baller, alpha male kind of figure, and like just getting anything. For anyone, it was just amazing. I remember I could walk into like any room, sit down anywhere, and just instantly have friends. And it was just one of the. It's just a great feeling, and it's a skill that you can really take anywhere. Which like I'm pretty like. Anyway, so that's kind of the confidence that you have to have. When this stuff starts happening, when you start to have this velocity of money flow. Because here's the deal: money likes speed. And money will go where people accept it. Money will go to the person who says, yes, I will take that and I will use it the right way and I will reinvest my cash flow and I will do smart things with my money and I will be a good acceptor of money. And that's kind of the state I'm at right now, where I'm trying to be a great acceptor of money. That's going to be one of the most important things I do this week, is not so much making plays, but just accepting the money that's already coming in. Because, you can make 10 plays and do phenomenally on all of them, but if you don't actually accept the growth that you have, then it's not gonna matter. If you don't actually sell the position and take in the profit, and you just let it die and you lose all your money, and a stock goes up a whole bunch, you don't sell and it goes back down, like, the market isn't going to give you opportunities over and over and over again if you never actually fully take advantage of them and close them and take the profit and move on to the next position. And so it's going to be really critical from a mindset point of view this week, that I just let the profits come and get out of certain parts of them when I know it's the right time to get out and I know it's the best time to get out, and maximize this one position that will later create a ton of winning positions based off of mindset and based off of, again, that increased set point. Because like I said, there's going to be probably more money made in the next year on the downside than there's been made in the past 8 years on the upside. And so for me to get used to all this influx, all this newly creative velocity of money, all this new rapid, like, I can't tell you how insanely rapid the growth is. That I&O position, the options on those on the daily for that setup were up 800% in like 45 minutes. It was like absolutely fucking insane. And so to get to the point where you're able to accept that over and over and over and over and over again, that's really where I am working to get right now. And I really hope that I will be there by the end of this week. And the way that I'm going to get there is by focusing on just like being a good acceptor of the money that the market gives me in this position in KEM, which I am very, very, very thankful for, have deserve. And it's pretty dope. I probably spent like, I don't know, cumulatively like an hour researching the stock, and it's been pretty dope. So that's kind of the big takeaway today, guys. So with that said, thank you so much for listening. Hope you got a ton of value out of this podcast. Go out there, apply it, absolutely crush it. Oh my god, this is one thing I want to leave you with. If this one client, she's older woman, she freaking crazy, it's awesome. And we're talking about like how this week's gonna go with the market tanking and everyone, everything going down, and especially a lot of my portfolio composition being in puts. And she said we got to put on our downside panties. I'm like, nah, you don't want to put any downside panties. You want to put on your put panties. So that's kind of the one thing to go with this week is we're gonna put on our put panties. We're gonna be ready for this downside, and we're gonna take in the profits that are gonna come from betting inversely against these assets. So that's kind of the takeaway. And one of the cool things about investing is you don't have to like people are like, oh, there's a recession, does your portfolio die? And I'm like, no, dude, this is the best it's ever been, because you just understand what's going on, you bet against it, and you make money up or you make money down, and it's pretty dope stuff. So thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.
Want more stock market secrets? If so, go get your free copy of my best-selling book, 9 to Noon. You can get your free copy plus $11,176 of unannounced bonuses it took me years to uncover, completely for free at 9tanoonsecrets.com. Inside 9 to Noon, you'll find the top 38 secrets you can use to double your portfolio every 2 years and make upwards of 10% per trade daily.
Hey guys, this is John, and I had this. I know episodes have been kind of just a little bit delayed lately, and I do apologize for that. I wanted to put this little note in after the show, just because there's this whole global pandemic, and it is kind of like not a great perfect situation. But I just wanted to clarify. There were a couple things here that I talked about. This was a while ago before much more was known about the virus. But I was totally wrong when I was talking about like people it affects, because it's not just old people, it's not young people. I think a bulk of the cases right now are like middle-aged people. And so obviously it's just a scary time. It's a crisis. It's reset. I mean, it's a hard time. I know. I have this one guy who works for me named Shwin. He does a lot of titles and descriptions on YouTube, and he's from Bangladesh, India. And he literally can't leave his home. If you get in a car and try to drive somewhere, the police will arrest you. And it's insane. Uh, it's just a really crazy situation. And he's part of the reserve military forces there, and they just got called out because the case is literally, I think, doubled in about a week. And it's just been growing, and it's really I mean, you guys know, and we're gonna be looking back. I mean, it's just a hard situation. So just be careful. Just be careful. I'm gonna do a whole video on probably the number one way that you can kind of avoid the virus. So that'll come out, and I'll put the audio of it here. I'm also gonna do something special for you guys because I want to give you. See, one of the best ways to learn is through repetition, right? And so I know a lot of you guys have gone through the Stock Market Secrets Exposed class, and you've gone. I have everything set up now. If you want to get access to it, it's just stockmarketsecretsexposed.com. It's a phenomenal video master class. It's what basically starts all of my students off on their journey. It works really, really well. What I want to do is I want to upload the audios of these on here, just because I think it would really help when you start investing. So that's what I'm going to do over the next couple of weeks, because you're going to have some time now to binge stuff at home, since no one's at work. Unemployment is literally 10 to 15 times higher than it was at the peak of '08, and it's only going up. It's just an insane time, and so I want to give you a lot of tools that you can use right now to really help you grow your portfolio, and make sure that A, you're not getting screwed by this recession, and B, you're actually succeeding from it more so than what most people are struggling with right now. So I really do want to give you this chance, because it's a once in a decade chance where you have these recessions, and you can actually start investing at one of the best times on the planet to get into the market. So with that said, guys, I thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. And also, I'm gonna specifically mark the Stock Market Secrets Masterclass as in his podcast episodes. It's just gonna have an SMS tag in front of it. So if you've already seen it, you can know that you're going through review material. And if not, then you can enjoy it. And then what I would recommend you do, if you have not gone through it yet, is just go to stockmarketsecretsexposed.com, and you can get it completely for free. You get the whole video part of it, so that you can actually see what I'm talking about, which is particularly helpful when you're looking at charts, and specifically like me drawing technical indicators and setups. Just not something that shows well through video. So with that said, thanks so much. I hope you guys are powering through this, and hopefully you're turning it into an opportunity to make really big gains. I know this week we did calls on futures, on standard, on crude oil, WTI, because I think through the dark pools there was like literally hundreds of millions of people buying, hundreds of millions of dollars being purchased in crude a week ago. And then this week, it goes up 30%, and the contracts go up 300%. It was just freaking crazy. And now I'm in puts on it, and so hopefully it'll go back down again and make that even more. And so it's just a really, really great time to be investing right now. So just make sure you guys know what you're doing. So with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.